Welcome to Cloud Gaming Battle. I'm Little Quick, and today we're jumping into Final Fantasy XIV on maximum settings. In preparation for the fourth and newest expansion, ENDWALKER, we're going to be reviewing the performance of the service and giving tips on how to set up the game within your maximum settings device. Before we walk to the end of this video, hit that subscribe button to catch all the latest cloud gaming news.
Until our friend returns, I will hold the line.
Final Fantasy XIV's state as a titan of the MMORPG industry is something of a gaming miracle. Released in 2010, originally the game was a commercial and critical failure. Rather than abandon one of the mainline entries in their most iconic franchises, Square Enix announced a complete overhaul and rebuild of the game. Headed by Naoki Yoshida, the game has had a complete renaissance, improving year after year after a rough start in 2013. Final Fantasy XIV's story, gameplay, and subsequently its player base has increased beyond what many thought were possible, with ENDWALKER adding massive new chapters to the game, and tons of new content to enjoy. How can you experience Final Fantasy XIV on a cloud gaming service? Currently unsupported by nearly every cloud gaming service from GeForce Now to Boosteroid to Stadia, playing will be restricted to PC rental services, such as Maximum Settings or Shadow, where the only limitations are what software you can get to work on the hardware provided. Other cloud gaming service types will always be confined to what is curated for you by the platform. Final Fantasy XIV, though not an ugly game by any means, is not going to be a challenge for the Maximum Settings GeForce RTX 2080 Super tier. The game played perfectly at the highest settings in both a high-definition 19x20x1080 and also when rendered in 4K. This 4K footage is being streamed back to my monitor in a basic 1920x1080 stream, so the detail won't be apparent, though the remote computer is still doing the work and making me wish I was streaming to a device that could display it properly. As a game built to be capable of play on lower-end PCs and the PlayStation 4, even the lowest tier rental PCs for maximum settings are going to have no issues running this game in basic high definition. I would stay away from playing in 4K on the lower rental tiers, though running at the highest graphical settings should not be a problem. Computer performance aside, there's a number of quirks and issues you may run into when playing Final Fantasy remotely. They won't happen to everyone, and they're not insurmountable. I have outlined those I was able to experience or duplicate, along with their solutions. A common trouble for remote play is that the position of the mouse cursor may be awry. This issue seems specific to Final Fantasy XIV. If it affects you, the true position of the mouse will be affecting an area some distance away from where the cursor appears on the screen. This can be extremely frustrating to deal with, and needs to be fixed immediately. The simplest answer on the Moonlight platform is to simply enter your game settings and change your mouse to use the hardware cursor. This will change the appearance of your mouse in-game, but will otherwise remove the issue completely. A similar issue can occur using Parsec, and can be solved following the excellent support guides posted to the Maximum Settings Discord or community forums. Now, with full control of your game, you can move on to updating your heads-up display and game settings. Any fresh installation of Final Fantasy is going to use default settings, but you can easily port over your own HUD and game settings from another PC using the tools already here. First, you'll want to go to whatever PC has your preferred HUD and control settings. From the character selection screen, you'll select the tool and update your current settings to the Final Fantasy XIV servers. You are limited to doing this once every 24 hours, so make sure the settings are good before you upload them. Once this is done, you can log into the same character select screen on the PC that you wish the new settings to be applied. In our case, the Maximum Settings PC. Once this is done, most of your settings, such as heads-up display, hotbars, and item sets will be accessible from the new PC. A few things like custom macros are not supported by this tool and will need to be recreated on a new device if necessary. This is a huge time saver if you customize your heads-up display as much as I do. Another obstacle experienced on Moonlight is a limitation to using Shift plus the numpad. MMORPGs are notorious for having large amounts of buttons, spells, and commands to press, and Final Fantasy XIV is no different. I could not use the left shift plus numpad combination that I normally use in order to access a great number of my actions. I had to switch my controls to utilize the control function instead of shift. I do understand this is a niche problem. Most players don't utilize the numpad along with the shift function, but I do. You might have noticed that some of my footage has a bit of graininess in the video, which was a product of my stream to my PC via Moonlight. After adjusting the settings for a higher stream bitrate, this problem vanished. Should you encounter a similar issue, it is a very easy fix. Ensure your internet connection can handle these higher bit rates, or you're going to have a bad time. A full guide to this can be found in our Getting Started with Maximum Settings video. You'll find it around the 3:45 mark. I did have some trouble playing some of the twitchy timing games in the Golden Saucer, but I wasn't sure if I was experiencing a bit of input lag or if I was just terrible at it. It didn't feel too off, but it's definitely a good way to test yourself if you get inside, as much of the other gameplay in Final Fantasy XIV is not going to be judged down to the microsecond. Once my control issues were put into order, and my game settings put to how I liked them, I had no issues playing this game. Things played smoothly, even when I had my streaming bitrate throttled. I was able to play all my favorite roles and various combat scenarios to my satisfaction. Once everything was all set up, it felt nearly indistinguishable from playing locally on my own PC. In conclusion, Final Fantasy XIV is absolutely both playable and enjoyable on maximum settings. However, it's going to take some effort to set everything up. It won't take too long, especially if you know what to do. After you've fixed your settings, updated your heads-up display and controls, and duplicated any macros you might use, the game will be ready to play and won't need any such prep ever again. You can just log in and play. And that, my friends, is the goal of any cloud gaming service. For the latest news, tips, gameplay, and comparisons on cloud gaming, including maximum settings, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned here to the only place you can do battle in gaming heaven, Cloud Gaming Battle. Little Quick, signing out.